But if you have the podium, then and you know what you're talking about, you then have a responsibility to speak the truth. So that is a man's responsibility and a man's response. You see, a woman would say, don't do that. Okay. We want to be safe
But
because
you know, the
she's,
majority of the Muslim scholars that were brought on TV, they went with
yeah,
the narrative. I don't know if they
yeah,
actually believed
that's
it.
because they're cowards. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to bring out here, because their cowardice is an expression of faithlessness. Okay. This cowardice is an expression of unbelief. All right. If you take the thinking logically, for example, as somebody like Al-Ghazali would do, and you carry the string of thought based on the activity forward to its logical conclusion, it means they don't believe what they say they believe. Okay, with respect to the refuge and the protection and the ultimate goal of being a Muslim. Okay, because Allah is the truth. So if you're going to stand there and deny the truth, you're denying Allah. Okay, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's a cowardly thing to do. Now, you have the right to do that according to Sharia under certain circumstances if it means imminent death. But if it merely means some sort of persecution, well, that's not the sunnah, is it? The sunnah is what the Prophet did. The Prophet stood up and stood for the truth and was persecuted for it. All right. So, in answer to your question, I'm not going to take the woman's perspective, okay, because she's thinking about protecting the chicks, all right, the little chicks, the children, all right, and that's what she's supposed to do. But that is not the man's responsibility. The man is to stand there and to make the statement boldly and then to also make the challenge, okay? Now, the problem here is that today's Muslims can't stand the challenge because they know they've lost dominion. But that's on a global scale. That's on the Ummah scale. That's not on an individual scale. The individual has not lost dominion. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Okay.
That's right.
So I'm speaking in the metaphysical terms here, rising above the material realm into the spiritual realm and saying, well, this is the moral responsibility. Okay. Now, if you want to just be the materialist, you'll take the woman's perspective and say, shh, no, don't say a word because we want to stay safe. Well, that's appeasing the crocodile. Okay, because these people are lizards. The people who designed the system that Captain Hanley just described, these are lizard-minded people. They're working at a very basic level of human understanding, but they're using their intellectual capacities in a subhuman capacity, for subhuman goals. And this is what's taking place here. The Muslim cannot enter this realm. The Muslim has to describe it, confront it, reveal it for the world, and then let the world decide. Right now, the whole world is deciding to put on the bloody mask. Why? Well, because they're cowards.
Why have we allowed this to happen? Really, something very, very wrong has happened, and what it is that your souls are dying. We're literally dying of suffocation, spiritual suffocation. Our souls are dying. And before the lights are out completely, I would advise all of you to reject this and to commit your lives to turning the tide. Because the danger of people that can see things another way and have the courage and the motivation to set out to change those is that very often they succeed. That's why those people are dangerous. People that can see things the way they should be and not the way they are. Those people are dangerous people. And I hope I'm a dangerous man. I really do. I hope I'm a dangerous man, and I hope all of you will commit to being dangerous people. A danger to what's wrong out there. A danger to what is wrong out there. And I'll tell you something, you can begin it. If you look in here, if the average person in here even has 2 children, and they raise them to break the cycle, to be different, to reject it, that can change the history of Toronto. Really. It can change the history of Toronto, and Toronto can change the history of Canada. And this is the way it begins. It begins with an understanding of the power of 1, because 1 is the greatest number. It is the greatest number. It's God's number. It's a powerful number. And an idea can change hearts. An idea can change hearts. And if an idea is right and it's true, it should change hearts. And if it's not, it shouldn't. But we're being bombarded by people who have the power now to inflict on us ideas that are dangerous to our hearts. And they're doing it to our children. So my advice to all of you, is to turn off your commercial televisions. This is a first and major step in changing the conditions of your households. Turn off your, and this is an act of courage. It's an act of courage. It's the coward that allows others to amuse himself. You see, and I agree wholeheartedly. I once heard somebody say that they'd never been bored in their life. And it always troubled them when they heard people say, I'm bored. Children learn boredom. I've never seen my children bored. I've never heard them say I'm bored. I haven't heard that. I haven't seen that. Let them run around and do what they want. You put them in a classroom for 8 hours a day in training and preparation to living a life of sitting behind a computer terminal for 8 hours a day, being bored stiff, and think that this is life. No, there are alternatives out there, people. Be creative. Be creative. There's alternatives. It doesn't have to be this way. And if that's the only message that you take from tonight, it's enough. It does not have to be this way. We have the power and the ability to change, and we have to do that. We have to change, and we have to listen to our hearts.